Hello, my name is Lee Presser. This is my show. I speak frequently to very interesting people. Some of these conversations are so exciting, so intellectually stimulating, I thought others might like to listen in. This is the reason we started recording Conversation with Lee Presser.
Welcome to Conversation with Lee Presser. My guest today is Jeffrey Chruch, the Illinois Department of Transportation Deputy Project Director for the new Mississippi River Bridge project. We'll be talking about the progress on the bridge and road connections to and from it. We'll also be discussing how streets and highways are places where more people intersect with government than any other area. When you're driving on a state highway or interstate in Illinois, IDOT is bringing you that public service. Jeff Chruch is part of that team. He's been working at IDOT since June 1994 in the areas of construction, design, local roads, and materials. Jeff Chruch, welcome to Conversation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being here.
So you've been working on this bridge project for how long now?
I've been working on it for about 4 years now. Part of my duty outside of the River Bridge project is our construction program. So when we were transitioning into the construction phase, that's when I first got started in it.
Was there a name designated at that time,
No,
other than New Mississippi River Bridge?
At that time, everybody was calling it the New Mississippi River Bridge, but in our bi-state agreement with Missouri, it did say that the two states were supposed to come to an agreement on the name.
And they finally did.
And they were able to do that.
That was this year?
That was just earlier this year. Right now,
Right.
we're going to call it the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge.
Right. Which the helicopter guys are probably going to call the New Mississippi River Bridge, or the other bridge.
Or the Stan Span, or something else.
Something
exactly.
like that.
They'll come up with their own name for it, you're right.
Right. And the Poplar Street Bridge will continue to be called the Poplar Street Bridge?
Yes, even though it was recently renamed,
Yes.
in honor of...
Well, it wasn't really even the Poplar Street Bridge.
No, not technically, you're right.
It was the Bernard F. Dickman Bridge.
Right.
Had, at least the Missouri side of it, I don't know if the Illinois side was that as well. But now it's the Congressman William Clay
Correct.
Bridge.
But I think everybody's going to continue to call it the Poplar Street Bridge because that's what we've been calling it for 40 plus years now.
Yes, yes, and I'm not from St. Louis originally, but that's all I ever heard was Poplar Street Bridge.
Right.
And then it was Highway 40. None of this 64 stuff.
Exactly, right.
But now it's 64.
Progress.
When did that change?
That's been a few years ago now, I believe, when they did that. Probably at least 4 or 5, isn't it?
I think when I was off in the Navy or something. I went away. It was Highway 40, and I left, and I came back, and it was 64, and I was like scratching my head about it. I go far enough back to where I remember sitting in over there in Collinsville in Dale Kluwer's office.
Yes.
When the very first initial plans for this new Mississippi River Bridge were actually being put on paper. Mm-hmm. And it was very exciting. I know Dale was very excited about this whole prospect, and I'm sure neither he nor I recognized that it was going to be this far off into the future.
Right, because we actually started working on that way back in the early 90s, so that's, I guess, when you were sitting there talking about that. So it's been a long time coming, and the last 5 or 6 years we've made a lot of progress towards making it a reality.
Now explain to people why the rationale for building a new bridge.
We had a couple reasons that we did it. Congestion on the existing bridges in the downtown area was one of the big features. Poplar Street Bridge carries about 120,000 vehicles a day right now, and is projected to go up to about 150,000 in 30 years. Mm-hmm. And then also the safety concerns as you approach both sides of the Poplar Street Bridge were some concerns. So by reducing the amount of traffic on it, you'll alleviate some of that. So we're going to take Interstate 70 off the Poplar Street Bridge and then relocate it up to the new bridge.
So the people who were trying to get to I-70, let's just talk in Illinois. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming Illinois and you're heading west, the people who were headed for I-70 had to get off on the Poplar Street Bridge and then make that quick right, and then they were down on 70. Yes. So those are the people, and those are the only people who are going to be taken off and moved to this new bridge. Is that right?
We also suspect some of the people that use the Martin Luther King Bridge, because I think some people make that little shortcut, go across the Martin Luther King Bridge and then hop back on Interstate 72. So we'll get some of that traffic also. Uh-huh. So what we're going to be doing is taking Interstate 70 from where Interstates 55, 70, 64 come together in East St. Louis, relocating them north up through the old National City Stockyards area, making the left-hand turn and going across the new bridge.
Right. And this turnoff of Interstate 70 west from its existing, from its existing place now is I always thought it was going to be right around 111, where the big dirt mound or the garbage mounds are.
The landfill.
But you're
right.
talking that it's actually another mile or so.
It's a little bit farther west than that, right? Originally, before we had to reduce the scope in order to fit our available budget, we did peel off Interstate 70 and take it around the landfill and then go up to the new bridge location. But when we couldn't afford that plan, we scaled it back a little bit, and now we're coming off. We call it the tri-level area, and that's where 5570 and 64 come together in East St. Louis.
When you say the we who couldn't afford it, this was actually the Missouri legislature, is that?
Well, I think even Illinois probably was going to struggle to come up with the $2 billion overall price tag that we had when we had the dual bridges, and 8 lanes going across the river and all the work on both sides. It would have been, I think, tight for both states to come up with that much money.
Right, okay. Let's just pause with what you just said. Originally, the new Mississippi River Bridge was supposed to be 4 lanes in each direction, is that right?
Yes.
And now it's going to be 2 lanes.
It's going to be 2 lanes in each direction, and we're going to have the ability to stripe it for a 3rd lane when the capacity dictates. But then the other good thing is that it's designed so that if and when the capacity and the funding become available, we could build another companion bridge and go out to our original scope of having that 4 lanes in each direction.
So the companion bridge would be another 4 lanes.
Yes.
So then you'd be back to, of course, now you've got to regroup everybody, where it would have been a lot cheaper just to do it all at one time.
Maybe, because we're looking probably 30 or 40 years down the road before we actually come to that reality of needing that companion bridge.
Right. Of course, by that time, we'll all have like the Jetsons suitcase cars that fly,
right.
and then we won't even need the bridge. So, okay, so what have you been working on for 4 years?
Well, way back in 2009 in the summer was when we started doing our first projects, and they were the demolition and clearing through the old National City Stockyards area. So those were the first projects that we started on. And actually in that area, we found an archaeological site. So for 3 years running, we had the largest archaeological dig in the United States going on in the old National City Stockyards.
Talk about that. What was that all about?
Well, it turns out it's sort of like a suburb to the Cokia Mound site, right around the same time frame from 1000 to 1200 AD. And there was like a smaller village in the same time period, and we had to clear all of that work before we were able to go through with the construction. So those first projects were just to knock down some of the buildings and clear out some of the rubbish. Then we came through and the archaeologists did all of their investigations. They ended up investigating over 6,000 features. They did find the remnants of a mound in one little area, which we ended up preserving. So it was actually
it's
very
still
neat
there,
thing.
you mean, or you moved it somewhere else?
The remnants of the mound, I should have said. That was a little misspoke on my part. So they could tell where they had built up the mound, and there were actually some human remains in there that we left intact. So that's some of the exciting stuff. A lot of it, you're looking at little dark spots in the ground showing the outlines of where the structures were at in their burn pits. But they did find some figurines and some other things that were actually, more what the layman would consider archaeology.
How interesting. I mean, really, I'm not saying, I mean, how interesting that, you build a bridge and the next thing you know, you're making new history.
Right. So this is, it's giving them a lot of information so they can try and figure out how they related to what the site that they knew about a Cokia Mound. So there was a lot of information that they're going to be researching for the next several years in the lab. With all of their samples that they dug up.
So this clearing and work you're talking about, this is all done before there was one piling or anything that was being done?
Yes, that was all started
on
in
the bridge.
2009, and then we started doing some of the other work in 2010. And when we talk about the river bridge, everybody thinks about the main span, which Missouri is actually the lead agency for, but we had 32 separate construction projects on our side of the river that we did. So we had a lot of work going on, and the dollar value is actually
much greater, aren't you?
It's actually close to the same because the main span was so big, it was about $229 million. But we had about $265 to $270 million worth of work on our side too. So like I said, for the last 4 years, we've had all those projects going on.
Well, what exactly has IDOT been doing on all these projects?
Mainly what we're doing is taking the connections from Interstate 64 and Interstate 5570 to relocated 70 right there in East St. Louis, and then building a new alignment for Interstate 70 up to the new bridge. So that's all the work we've been doing. So we've had new ramps that we've had to tie in to Interstate 5570, Interstate 64. We've got some new flyover bridges that if you're traveling through the area where the interstate's coming together in East St. Louis, you'll see all the new overhead structures that actually take you to and from relocated 70. And then we've got our new relocated 70 alignment through the old National City Stockyards area. And we also built a new interchange in the National City Stockyards area where relocated Illinois Route 3 and Interstate 70 have a new interchange there. So we had a lot of projects on our side.
Am I hearing you right that 70 is, I'm sorry, that Illinois 3 is being improved and it's going to be an on-ramp onto this new bridge?
We'll have a fully functional interchange, so you'll be able to go both directions. And eventually we're going to relocate Illinois Route 3 from the new interchange, eventually all the way down into Sauget, but right now we've got the projects that we just started this summer that will take us all the way down to River Park Drive.
What about, and I haven't driven that area in quite a while, it used to be when you were riding on 3 coming from 270 heading towards the Poplar Street Bridge, that you'd be driving through neighborhoods basically. Is that being corrected? Has that been corrected?
You know, when I talk about how we had to reduce the scope to try and fit the budget, that's one of the things we dropped out was the relocated 3 portion from the interchange up to the north towards Venice. We really don't have the funding available for that right now, and there's a lot of coordination that has to go on with the railroads. There's a lot of railroad lines that we'd have to go over, so it's significantly expensive to try and do that. So right now we're focusing on the southern half of relocated Route 3. So to answer your question, no, you will not be able to avoid going through all those turns and the neighborhoods that you were talking about through the Brooklyn area in Venice.
Well, because the folks from the Port District, by what used to be the Mel Price Center, and now they call it the
America's
Port.
America's Port.
Right, that they were hoping that there would be, direct access, good truck access in both directions to 70 and to 270. But you're saying that's not going to be the case for a while.
Not in the short term. It's just like I said, there's too much money and the funding's just not available for us right now. But that is one of the things that IDOT's trying to do is focus more on the multimodal features and trying to interconnect the roadways and the waterways and everything. So we're trying to work with the railroads, but like I said, there's just so many lines that would have to be relocated. It's really expensive to do that right now.
So how far along in the process of building your ramps and all these new access roads that are going to take traffic up to the new bridge, how far along are you on that?
We're nearing completion. We are the overall project, and when I say that I mean the main span and all the work on both sides. We're aiming right now probably for late January or early February for a ribbon cutting and putting the traffic on the new bridge.
So going live.
Yes.
Traffic.
So that's only 3 months. I mean, we're getting very close. The work on our side, we're getting very close. Most of the projects out of those 32 that I talked about on our side, we're probably done with 25 or more. A lot of the ones that we have to finish are some of the landscaping. We do still have some work on westbound Interstate 64 we have to complete, and then also along the relocated 70 alignment, a lot of striping and some barrier and guardrail and stuff like that. But we're getting very close to having most of the work done. It's always been my goal to get our jobs done before they get theirs done, because we don't want to be the hold up for opening that bridge. So since some of that, the last construction you have to do is weather sensitive, we'd like to try and get it done before the end of the year.
And just so people know, you and I are sitting here talking, this is October 22nd, 2013, so we're coming into the snow season here.
Right.
Sometime, I don't know.
Hopefully not for a little while.
Right, could be next month. Sometimes it doesn't come at all.
Right.
So if there's no snow, but it's just cold, can you continue on that?
Yes. And like I said, we're working towards getting that finished, and we don't see any problems with getting it done on our side. And the main span work is coming along very well. They're in the process right now of putting on the deck overlay, and then they have some of the handrail to put on the outside, and the striping, and then also a lot of the electrical work for the lighting of the bridge. So they're getting down to the last 4 or 5 major items that they have to finish too. So things are coming along really well, and unless we have some sort of unexpected events, everything's looking really good for that late January opening.
Now the bridge is described as a cable stay. Is that the proper term?
Yes.
Is that like the Clark Bridge?
Yes, it's similar to the Clark Bridge. The Clark Bridge, the only difference with it is it's a lot smaller. It's only about 150 feet towers as opposed to the 400 foot towers that we have here. But the cables actually loop over the top of the Clark Bridge. On the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge, we actually have cables coming out from each side of the tower, so it's 2 separate cables coming out instead of one that's looped over the top. But they're both considered cable stay structures, that's correct.
So it's going to be pretty.
Yes, it is. One of the things that they're finishing up right now is they're painting the tower, so you won't have the gray concrete. They've painted a nice off-white color. So once we get that decorative lighting up there, it should be a world-class structure and something that everybody's going to be wanting to come and take pictures of.
Well, years ago, I remember I was talking to at that time it was an older gentleman about a project that he wanted to see done on the new bridge. He was talking about like putting some sort of a tourist center up there where people can go up in an elevator and be able to look around. And I gather that kind of went away with funding.
Yeah, we cannot. There is access inside of the tower. It's not an elevator. It's just a ladder, and you have to have that to get to the top of the towers to change the navigational lights and everything like that. But no, there's no elevator in there.
No, he was talking about really making
Right.
this kind of like a tourist event too, which I thought was like a pretty neat idea.
Right. It's not.
And
It's
you're
not anything that was
400 and how many feet up?
about 400 feet
400
off the
feet.
river surface.
Yeah, see, it would be really cool to be up there. And,
It is
and
quite a
look
view from the
around.
top. Yes.
You've been there?
Yes.
Can I go?
No. We were doing during the course of as we were building the towers, we had the opportunity. They had scaffolding up in between the two legs.
Yeah.
So we were able to go up to the top, and it is quite a view from up there. Yes. But no, we can't go up there right now. Sorry.
Oh, right. Well, it would have been fun. Anyway.
Yes.
It was fun. You were there.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah. Who's
It's quite a hike, though.
I was going to say, who's the guy that gets to go up there and change? Is it the same guy that goes to the top of the arch to change the balls there?
Now,
that go?
this will have to be somebody from MoDOT because they're responsible for the maintenance. So they'll have some of their maintainers out there doing the.
I mean, is
changing
this
the light
like
bulbs.
you just have to go up a ladder?
Yeah, it's a hand over hand. So from
400 feet
well,
up?
from the deck, from the top of the deck up, it's probably going to be about 320 feet, so 330 feet. So it's still a long way on a ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're chained or linked in to
Oh,
kind
they
of
have
like
landers.
mountain
Yes, they'll
climbing.
have. Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So the bridge is getting ready to open somewhere, hopefully January, February, you said, of
Yes.
2014. And what happens to you then? You spent your whole life getting this thing on, and now it's gone. And
Right. Well, we still have other projects, within our district that we're doing.
let's talk about that. What other things are is IDOT looking at?
Well, one of the things that we're going to do, it's sort of associated with this project, is what we call the Martin Luther King Connector. And then when the new river bridge is done, Missouri is going to start doing some work on both sides of the river to improve the ramps on both sides. So they're going to be reconstructing the ramps that take you from westbound Poplar Street Bridge to, it won't be Interstate 70 anymore, they'll be renamed Interstate 44, and then westbound, and then also to southbound Interstate 55. So that's some of the work they're going to be doing.
Wait. Are they taking out the ramp that exists right now that people go on to 70
It'll be
from?
reconstructed, yes.
And so it's not, is it going to go down like it does
Yeah,
now?
still go down, yes, but it'll be 2 lanes now instead of 1. Similarly with what will take you to southbound 4455, it'll be 2 lanes instead of that 1 real tight curve that you have right now.
Yeah.
It'll be reconstructed as 2 lanes. Now when we do that though, in order to get that widened ramp structure out, they're going to have to take out the ramp that takes you from what is currently the depressed section of Interstate 72, the eastbound Poplar Street Bridge. So we didn't want to lose that movement, so we're going to make what we call the MLK connector. So you're going to have a connection that takes you from Interstate 70 to the Martin Luther King Bridge and then loops you right back onto westbound 5570 and allows you to get down in the Route 3 in the Sauget area, since you won't have that connection to the eastbound Poplar Street Bridge. And then, so we have that job that's going to be coming up probably in 2015, while Missouri's doing all those works on all their ramps in both eastbound and westbound direction. Then we're also going to add another lane to the eastbound Poplar Street Bridge, add 1 more lane of traffic there. So we're physically going to slide the bridge over and put a lane in the middle, which is sort of neat. They've done it in other places.
Yeah, I read about this and I'm going like, slide the Poplar Street Bridge over.
Right.
Like
And
a Tinker toy.
We're all actually looking very forward to seeing that because it's something we've never seen here. The structural engineers say, we do it all the time. Well, you may do it all the time, but you don't do it in St. Louis, Missouri all the time. So we're all looking forward to seeing something like that. So
that's something you don't see every day.
Exactly. So we still have a lot of work going on in the St. Louis area. And then, they have their whole City Arch River project that's going to be going on in downtown St. Louis at the same time.
Oh, you mean
too.
rebuilding so that people can walk
we'll have
right over the depressed
Yes.
section?
So they've started.
Is that going to be still active down there? Do you know?
Yeah, it should be. So a lot of this work, we're waiting until we get the new bridge done to start, but they have started some of the preliminary stuff to try and improve the connections at the ends of the MLK Bridge and the Eads Bridge. So that's all work that we've got coming up in the next 3 to 4 years. That's going to keep. But by the time we're done with it, all the connections in the St. Louis and in both directions are going to be much improved, and the congestion is going to be really curtailed. So we're looking forward to that.
Well, here's the philosophical, political perspective on my part. Most citizens and politicians as well just don't. They seem to think that once you build a road, you build a bridge, well, it's just there forever. It's just it exists. And what you and I are talking about here today is that it's always dynamic. It always has to be improved, maintained. That once you build a road, it's kind of like a kid. You're like stuck with it for the rest of your life, right?
Right. Somewhere in that, or yes, we have to maintain all of these roads and bridges, and that's a very good point. You can't just walk away from them because traffic patterns change. We may be looking at building that companion bridge, but we also have to maintain the new one that we're building too. Even though it's got a 100-year design life, you're going to have to do some maintenance to get it to that 100 years. So
I'm trying to remember when Poplar was built, whether 64 existed.
You mean in St. Louis?
No, it existed at all. I mean, remember,
it would have been built. It was being built around the same time in the mid-'60s, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah. A little before my time with the state, but
yeah.
Yes.
But well, anyways, I mean, one of the things that we didn't say that I guess you could say is that the Poplar Street Bridge now carries 4 interstate?
We only call it 3, 54. 55, 70, and 64. So we're carrying 3 interstates across it, and that's actually only one of 2 in the country that have 3 interstates going across a major river. So that's one of the things that we'll be able to alleviate when we take the traffic up to the new bridge from Interstate 70. So we'll drop that down to 2. So another thing that we are able to accomplish with this.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think it's going to work. But I
it'll
know
work.
engineering-wise it's going to work. I'm just wondering how long it's going to take people to lock in and change their thinking as to driving patterns. Because
we're working with all of the GIS people, so it'll be on all of your GIS things. It'll take you if you plug in Interstate 70, it's going to take you to the new bridge once we get it open. So. In the age we live in now, it's not like the maps that you'd have to wait a year in order to see that. It's something that's going to be instantaneous. So,
well, that's very interesting because we had a guest here. He had his iPhone and it's connected to his earpiece, and it just tells him how to get to places. Doesn't even use a map.
Right.
And you're saying that when that bridge opens, that his iPhone,
it should. We're coordinating.
If he wants to go to if he's in Illinois and wants to go to the airport, it'll tell him to take the new bridge.
Yes.
Very interesting. So what else is IDOT working on these days away from the river? You must have other things in District 8 that you're working on.
We do. In fact, we've had about, I just looked at our weekly report, we have about 137 active jobs right now, valued at about $660 million, so that the river bridge is only a fraction of what we've got going. The largest single contract that we have right now is the new bridge that we're building on Interstate 270 over the Chain of Rocks Canal. It's about a $104 million project that we're going to replace the 2 existing twin steel truss sections that are out there right now with a new bridge. So we started that a couple years ago.
I've been seeing that bridge. It seems taller too.
The new bridge.
Because I'm looking, as I drive past, I'm looking up at this thing.
It's going to be to the north side of the existing one, and it actually is. It's a pretty impressive structure. We just got done lifting up some of the structural steel that spans over the canal last week.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I guess I haven't seen that one yet.
No,
so I'll see that later.
Yeah, and so go over there. So that's the biggest contract we've got going on right now in our district. So we've also got a lot of other work going on. Now
that you were talking, I remember that was talked about years ago.
Right.
How long, from an engineer's point of view, not from a fiscal point of view, from an engineer's point of view, how far out are you looking? Like right now, when you're looking to things to the future, how far out?
We've got an annual program that we come out with, and that's part of our multi-year program. Right now, our multi-year program cycle is 6 years. So we're looking at least 6 years out, and we also look even further than that. So we're looking at trying At some point in time, we're thinking that maybe 270 needs to be made into 6 lanes instead of the 4 that it is now. So that's something that's probably 15 or 20 years down the line that we're looking at.
So you have to plug that in politically so that people can start thinking about finding funding for you.
Exactly, and you're right. So the more lead time you can for the better, because look at the new bridge. It took us 22 years from the time that we first decided that, we need this new bridge to the completion.
Day.
Right. So.
And there was talk at one time about, by the way, we're down to like 3 minutes, so if there's anything that you want to say that we haven't said now, say it now, but there was talk of putting, I think it was Illinois 67 to go up to Jacksonville and kind of I don't know if it was full out interstate or not.
It's not interstate, but it's built to interstate standards, but it's not designated as an interstate.
So this is happening?
Yes. We finished last year, we extended Illinois 255 all the way up to Route 111, just north of Godfrey. And then this year we've opened up a couple new pieces that takes you up there to probably about 5 miles south of Jerseyville still. And then we're plugging along, still buying some land acquisition as you head north to the end of our district. But that's something that's still in the long range plan too. So, last year we opened a couple of big pieces, like I said, up to 111, a couple of smaller pieces this year. And that's something that's still on our radar also.
Well, when you open, especially from Jerseyville up to Jacksonville, that really does open up economic activity along a wide swath of Illinois, doesn't it?
Yes, and like you said, there's a lot of our local leaders that are really wanting that to be done. And they're pushing for it, especially the people up in the Alton and Godfrey area. Wanting to open that corridor up, like you said, all the way up to Jacksonville, and you see an opportunity for economic development on the western side of the state there.
That could be good. That could be bad. I mean, I've seen, for example, I saw 159, for example. For years and years and years, it was like a 2 and 3 lane road. Traffic was horrible. And then finally, now it's gone to 5 lane. And right after that, all of a sudden, now there's new shopping centers and, of course, more traffic.
Right. So you're right, especially like in the Edwardsville area, you'll see that the congestion is probably as bad as or worse as before we built the additional lanes on it. You're right. So build it and they will come. That's what they always worry about, right?
Yeah. Well, that's part of the anti-road people. What do they call themselves? There was a term, road calming. You ever heard that term?
No,
yeah. They actually are designing. They want to design roads to make it as difficult as possible to drive.
Right. And then there's a group. We had the outer belt that they talked about, Illinois 158, sort of like an outer loop, and there was a lot of opposition to that. It's for the same reasons you're talking about. They're worried about increasing congestion, urban sprawl, all of those kinds of things.
We're out of time. Thank you very much for coming and talking to us today, especially about the bridge.
Oh, appreciate it.
You're
Thank you for
very
having
welcome.
me.
Bye-bye. And I've been speaking with Jeff Chruch. He's with the Illinois Department of Transportation. We've been talking about the new Mississippi River Bridge, the Stan Musial Veterans Bridge.
Yes, that's right.
Is that it? And so that'll be opening, according to reports, somewhere in January, February. So get a chance to drive on that. This is going to be uploaded to YouTube, so if you want to show somebody this program, go there. Thanks. Bye.